What do you mean by stack then? It is an ordered collection of elements in which each element may be inserted or deleted only at the same end. So what is inheritance then? Inheritance is the capacity of one class to inherit the properties or feature from another class. It will going to retrieve certain records from one or more table. When I wanted to retrieve one or more records or one or more row from a particular table, then we are going to use this select. Everybody, welcome back to the session 3 on the model question paper 21-22, which is given by the Karnataka Pre-University Board. I am Rohini TS from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In the previous session, that is session number 2, we have discussed regarding the part C, that is 3 marks question we have discussed in the session number 2. So in our today's session, we will be discussing about the part D, that is for the 5 mark questions. So let me get into the today's session, that is regarding part D. So now we'll see about this part D. So as we all know that in part D, we will be having 14 questions. Out of 14, you have to answer any 7. So that you are going to get 5 into 7. Totally it will be for 35 marks. So we'll see the first question here, that is question number 36. Reduce f of a, b, c, d is equal to summation of 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 using K-map or Karnaugh map. So how we are going to solve these kind of questions? So you must be very clever in order to solve these kind of questions. So when you are working with this K-map, first we must know how we are going to do this configuration. So first we have to put 16 boxes, that is we will be having. So you can consider here, how many variables I have here? 4. So 4 into 4, that is 16. There will be 4 rows and 4 columns. So with the combination of A, B, C, D, we have to draw this. So how we are going to do that? That is what you can see here. We have A bar, B bar. So along with that, from this side we have C bar, D bar. In the same way, A bar, B, C bar, D, A, B, C, D. Then A, B bar, here C, D bar. Okay. So let me explain you how we are going to solve this kind of problem. So here, how many variables we have? We have 4 variables. So that 4 into 4 will be 16. So how we are going to draw that? Let me consider. Okay. So in this, first I need to mention the destination of each value. So how it will going to start? It starts with 0, 1. Then don't write in the 3rd column. Write it in 4th column and 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. And in the same way 4, 5, 6, 7. Then here you need to leave this 3rd row. Then come to the last one. Mention it as 8, 9, 10, 11. Here 12, 13 and 14. 15. Okay. So now you have to see the values. How many values we have? We have a 0. So that means what? In the destination of 0, you have to put 1. Consider 1. Then 2. So there you put 1. 4. Here. Then for 6, we need to give 1. For 8, we have here 8. Then 9. And for 10 and 11. And we have 12 and 14. So 12 as well as 14. Okay. So remaining values needs to be, remaining destination needs to be filled by 0. Okay. So let me change the color of this pen, so that will be easy for you to understand. So now you got to know that how we are going to fill the values. So you have to mention A bar, B bar. In the same way, here also you have to mention C bar, D bar. Then A bar, B. Here C bar, D. And then we have A, B. Here C, D. And then A, B bar. Here C, D bar. So this is how we are going to do. So after this, you need to analyze, can we group any octet, or do we have any quadrants, or do we have any pair? Okay. So collection of 8 consecutive zeros are considered as octet. So collection of 4 consecutive 4s are considered as quad, and collection of 2 consecutive 1s are called pair. So first we have to give a preference for octet, next quad, then pair. So here you have to see that. So in this I am going to have 4 ones. Here also I have 4 ones. But when I fold that K map, that will going to get me one octet, that is collection of 8 values. So I can consider these row, these column as well as these column. When I fold it, it will going to be one octet. Okay, so that is what the reason we are considering this as octet 1. So next what we have quad. So after that I need to consider one more time, is there any possibilities of having a collection of 8 ones? So here I don't have any other 8 number of ones in the same table or a K map. So I need to prefer any 4 ones. So that is what we are going to get that as a quad 1. Okay, then how we are going to do the simplification? That is what you can see here. So in the octet 1, what are the values we have? So how we are going to write this one? Here you can see that wherever we have 1, there you have to write the value of AB as well as the CD. That means you need to write the value of row as well as the column. If I wanted to get this one, what I am supposed to consider? A bar, B bar, C bar, D bar. So after getting all these values, we need to do the simplification. How we are going to do that? Any variable with bar and without bar will going to get cancelled. So how we are going to do that? A bar. So for that A. So this A bar will going to cancel with A, and this another A bar will going to cancel with another A. So here also A bar A, then again A bar A. In the same way I am going to do it for everything, but the remaining thing will be remain same, that is bar D. So D bar will going to be same in all the kinds of variable. So that will be the common value. That is what we got out of octet 1. And if I consider the quad 1, there also I am going to write 4 values. So if you consider here, what are the values I am supposed to consider? So in order to get the quad 1, I need to consider 8, 9, 11 and 10. So what is the value of 8? That is AB bar, C bar, D bar plus AB bar, then C bar, D plus AB bar, then CD plus AB bar, then CD bar. So here also we need to check for the common values. So if you consider this value, A is remain same in all the 4 variables, so that no need to cancel that A. So it will going to be retained as it is. Then this B is also same. That means we have a B bar in all the variables, and C bar will going to be cancelled with this C, and another C bar will get cancelled with this C. Then same thing will going to happen for D also. Then we are going to get a common value as AB bar. But when you are writing an answer out of octet and quad, what are the values that we got? That is what the answer. F of A, B, C, D is equal to, first I need to consider the octet value, that is D bar plus AB bar. So this is how we are going to do the solution for this K map. So here you can see that writing a K map and grouping. So if you done this much, then you will be able to get 3 marks. And if you are done with these kind of simplification, then that will gives you 2 marks. So this is how we are supposed to solve the K map problems. We'll see the next question, that is question number 37. Briefly explain different operation performed on linear data structure. So as we all know that linear data structures, in that elements will going to acquire, or element will going to have a sequential order memory. So that is what the reason we are going to call that as a linear data structure. That means consecutive memory allocation will going to happen for this linear kind of data structure. For example, arrays, stacks, those are the things which comes under this linear data structure. Then what are the different operations we can perform? So remember, we can have traversing, insertion, deletion, searching, sorting and merging. So traversing, visiting of each node exactly once from beginning element to last element, that is traversing. And insertion, adding a new element into the existing data structure, that is insertion. Then deletion, the process of removing an element from the existing data structure, that is deletion. And searching, finding the location of an element, what is the location of that element in the collection of elements, that is what we are going to call that as a searching. Then we have a sorting. Sorting is nothing but we are going to make arrangements of elements elements either in the ascending order or descending order. That is known as sorting. Then we have a merging. It is nothing but combining of one data elements of two structures in order to form a single data structure. So these are the operations that we are going to perform with a linear data structure. So how we are going to remember this one? We have a traversing, insertion, deletion, searching, sorting and merging. Okay. So we'll see the next question, that is question number 38. What is stacked data structure? Write an algorithm for push and pop operation. How we need to calculate the number of marks allocated for question. So totally this is for 5 marks. Then how can I get to know what is the question, what is marks weightage for this particular question and what is the marks weightage for push and pop algorithm? You need to analyze. So if you look into this question, you already in the last session also I have discussed. So like if we are having a question along with a question mark, then that means that that question is meant for 1 marks. Remaining question will meant for remaining marks of particular part. For example, if I am dealing with 3 mark question, if I have a question along with a question mark, then that question is meant for 1 mark. Remaining question will be meant for 2 marks. So here also you can do the same technique. So here also, what is stacked data structure? So for this, you are going to get 1 mark. Write an algorithm for push and pop operation. So this pop operation is for 2 marks and push operation is for 2 marks. Totally, it will going to give you 5 marks together. So now, what is a stacked data structure? What is this stacked data structure is all about? So you have to write the definition of a stack. What do you mean by stack then? It is an ordered collection of elements in which each element may be inserted or deleted only at the same end, and we are going to call that end as what? Top of the stack. Insertion, deletion, both will going to take place at the same end in the stack. So if I wanted to insert a new element, I have to take it from top of the stack only. If I wanted to remove any element, then that has to need to be happen only with the same end. Then we are going to call that as a top of a stack. Then which approach or which data structure it follows? It will going to follows LIFO, that is last in first out. Whatever the element which is recently added needs to be removed first. That is what we are going to call that as a last in first out. And then we have to write the algorithm for push and pop operation. Push is nothing but inserting an element into the stack, and pop is nothing but deleting an element from the existing stack. That is what we are going to have a algorithm for each push and pop operation. So here you can see the algorithm for push operation. So when you are writing this, step will going to help you to get 1 mark, and you have to write the values. That means you have to write the name of a variable, for what purpose you are having this tag, for what purpose you are having this top and item. Okay, so your stack is an array and with n elements. It can be any number of elements, and top is a pointer where you are going to have the top element of the stack, and item is the item needs to be inserted because we are dealing with a push operation. So these are the steps we need to follow in order to perform the stack operation called push. So first I need to check whether stack is full or not. So that is what we are going to check, is top is equal to n minus 1. If it is true, then it will going to display stack is full or overflow. Otherwise, top will going to be incremented by 1. Then I am going to insert an element to the stack top. Then we have to return back. This is the algorithm for push operation. So now we'll see the algorithm for pop operation. So as we all know that pop is nothing but removing of an element from the existing stack. So what are the variables I require for that? I require a stack with a n number of elements, and I require a top. So as we all know that in order to insert or in order to delete any element from the stack, we are going to perform that operation at the same end called top of a stack. So that is what the reason we must have this top, and the item I require in order to deleted. So here also it will going to follow several steps. In the step 1, first we have to check. For example, if I wanted to delete any content or any element from the stack, then there must be a element. First I need to check, is there any element in the stack or not. If there is no element, though I am trying to delete that element, then that condition is termed as what? Underflow or a stack underflow. So at that time it will going to print stack is empty or underflow when the top is going to point to null. So if that is the case, it will going to be exit, then it will come to the step 2. So if there is an element, so that means when the stack is not empty, then it will come to the step 2. In the step 2, at whatever we have at the top of a stack, that will going to be copied to the item. So that is the item that I wanted to delete. Then once the element has been deleted, top will going to be decremented by 1. That is top is equal to top minus 1, and then we will return from the stack. So this is how we have to write an answer for this question. Define stack data structure and write an algorithm for push operation, that is for 2 marks, pop operation is for 2 marks. We'll see the next question, that is question number 39. Explain memory representation of two-dimensional array using row major ordering. So as we all know that if it is a two-dimensional array, then there will be rows and columns. So it will going to have 2 subscript. We have to represent it in the we have to have the memory representation of two-dimensional array with the help of this row major ordering. So as we all know that we can represent the array, that means two-dimensional array, either in the column ordering or row major ordering. So here we have to use the row major ordering method. Then we'll see how we are going to do that. So array is nothing but it is a collection of homogeneous elements and it is belongs to linear data structure. If it is a linear data structure, the memory address will going to be consecutive. That means if the base address of first element is 1001, then it will be 1002, 1003. In that way it will be in the address. So we'll see about this row major method. All the first row elements are stored in the sequential memory location, and then all the second row elements I'm going to store and so on. That means when we are performing the memory representation of two-dimensional array with the help of this row major ordering, first row will going to be considered. So that means here we are giving more weightage to the row than the column. So first I have to write all the elements in the first row. Next I will come to the second row elements. So in that way we are going to have the memory address of each element in the two-dimensional array. So you consider A be the order of A be the name of an array and order is m cross n. So m represents the number of rows and n represents the number of column. If it is 3 cross 3, m is 3 and n value is 3. So in order to represent the two-dimensional array in the memory location, first I must know the base address. That means the address of your first element in an array is nothing but base address. So here base of A is the address of the first element. Then the memory address of any element A of ij can be obtained. So when I get to know the base address, so when I get to know the address of first element, then it will be easy for us to get to know the address of further elements in an array. Then how we are going to find the location of any element in a two-dimensional array? That too by making use of this formula. Location of A of ij is equal to base of A plus W of n of I comma LB plus J minus LB. So that means what? I minus LB plus J minus LB. So here I represent this first subscript value and J represents the second subscript value. That is nothing but row and column index we are specifying. Base of A is the address of first element, then W that represents the number of words per memory location. Anyway, this array belongs to the linear data structure. For example, address of first element is 1001 and consider address of second element is 1003. What is the difference between these two? That is 2. So then word length or W value will be 2. So this is how we are going to find the location of any element in the two-dimensional array. So here you can see one example. Here I have a 3 rows, row 1, 2 and 3. So A of 0, 0 is nothing but an element 1 zeroth row first column element is 7 and zeroth row and second column element is 4. So by making use of the formula, we can find the memory address of any element. What is the formula in order to find the location of any elements? So for that we have location of A of ij is equal to base of A plus W of n of I minus LB plus J minus LB. Okay, so here you just consider I wanted to find the location of this one. So what is that? Location of A of I is nothing but what? 1 and for J is 2 is equal to, then base of A. What is the base address? That is the element address of first element, that is 1001 plus W. What is the difference between one memory address to another memory address? That is 1 here. So W value will be 1. And what is the value of n? M cross n. So here this is 3 cross 3. So 3 rows, 3 column. This is n value, this is m value. So this is n. So now the value of n is 3 of I. What is the value of I? That is 1 minus LB is nothing but lower bound. LB is nothing but lower bound, that is always 0. So 3 minus 0 plus J is nothing but here J value is 2. 2 minus 0. So here 1001 plus 1 of 3 ones are 3 minus 3 zeros are 0. So it will be 3 only plus 2. Then 1001 plus 3 plus 2. How much? So it will going to gives us 1006. So the memory address of A of 1, 2, that means first row, second column memory address is 1006. That is how we are going to represent any element in the two-dimensional array by making use of this formula. So you just write these values. That means you can take any value for the any number of rows and you need to mention its subscript. Then by making use of this formula, you need to find the location of any element in the array. This is how you need to answer for this question. Let me move to the next question, that is question number 40. Write any 5 applications of object-oriented programming. So when you are getting the question called application, application is different and advantages are different. So here application is nothing but where we are using that. Advantages is how we are using that. Okay. Then what are the application? Write any 5 applications of object-oriented programming. Here I have listed out computer graphic applications, CAD/CAM software, that is computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacturing software, and we have object-oriented database, real-time system, simulation and modeling, then artificial intelligence and for expert system, and we can also use this OOP concept for user interface design such as Windows. Out of this you can write any 5. So if they are just asking you to write or mention, no need to explain. So if you know it in brief, you can write it, but if it is asking like write any 5 applications or mention any 5 application, then no need to explain. We'll go to the next question, that is question number 41. Explain class definition with syntax and example. So when you're getting these kind of question, at that time, if you are writing a syntax of a class definition, then that is 1 marks. So with the syntax, for example, if you are writing a syntax, 2 marks you are going to get, and if you are explaining it, another 1 marks. So totally you are going to get the 3 marks, and for example, it will be for 2 marks. So for the definition with syntax and explanation of that syntax, 3 marks, and for example, you will get 2 marks. So as we all know that, what is this class definition is all about? I need to give a name for a class and I have to have a data members and member function. So if I am declaring and if I am giving all those, then that process of naming a class and its data variables and interface operation of the class will be termed as class definition. Then the variables declared inside a class are called data members that represent the characteristics or attribute of a data values, and the functions declared inside a class are called member functions. So we have two members in a class, one is data member, another one is member function. Then class declaration specifies the representation of objects of the class and set of operation that can be applied to object. So class declaration is different, class definition is different. So we'll see the syntax. This is the general syntax for class definition. So you can see that I have declared a word called class. That is a keyword. That means we are telling the compiler we are using a concept called class. So without having a name, we can't help the compiler to recognize that as a class. So it is mandatory to give the name for that particular class, that is user defined name. You can give any name to the class, but that must follow the identifier rule. And we have a opening and closing of a parenthesis, that is pair of parenthesis or a flower braces. Within that you are going to have the access specifier. Under each access specifier you can have the data members and member functions. So data members and member functions are the members of a class. So here I have three access specifier: private, public and protected. Then put colon here and you can have any number of data member and member function. So you can have the member function either inside the class definition, even outside the class definition. Whatever the data member you wanted to use needs to be declared in a class. So you have a three privileges. One is private, public as well as the protected. Each can have its own number of data members as well as the member function. How we are going to close the class? Very important. We have to close a class with a closing of flower braces with a semicolon. That will help the compiler to get to know this is the end of a class definition. So in this slide we have explained each keyword. What is this class declaration, keyword class, and what is the user defined name, that is the name of a class, and class body enclosed between a pair of flower braces. Within that we are going to have a data members as well as the member function, and it has three access specifier: public, private as well as the protected. And here you can see one example. What is the name of a class here? Account is the name of a class. So within that it has a private and public access specifier. Under the private I have 4 data members. So int account number, char name of 20, char account type, int balance amount. So these are the data members of a class called account, and I have 2 member function called get data and display data, which is having a return type called void, which comes under the scope of public, and this specifies the end or a ending of a scope of a class. This is how you need to answer for this question. Write the syntax, explain each word that you have used in the syntax, and write one example which must reflect on the syntax. We'll see the next question. Briefly explain the characteristics of friend function. So you just need to analyze what are the characteristics it has, what is the friend function is all about, what is the reason of using this friend function. So as we all know that friend function is a non-member function. It is not a member of a class, but it has a accessibility or permission to the private members of the class. It can have the accessibility to the private and protected members of a class. So it needs to be declared within a class with a prefix called friend. If I wanted to declare this friend function, that needs to be takes place within the class, but that needs to be preceded by a keyword called friend. But it needs to be defined outside the class like a normal functions without prefix of friend. Okay, so here we have listed out some of the characteristics or properties of this friend function. What is this friend function is all about? As we all know that it is not a member function of a class, but with the help of this friend function, it will have a permission to have the accessibility to the private and protected members of a class. That is the first properties, and it can be declared either in public or private part of a class, and definition must be outside the class. A friend function cannot be called using the object of that class, because it is not a member of a particular class. It is a non-member function. If I wanted to define it, it needs to be outside the class and can't be accessed by the object of that particular class. So it can be invoked like any other normal function. So I need to make a call to the function, then it will going to be invoked. They are normal external function that are given special access privileges. So when I wanted to access the private and protected members of a class, at that time it can't be called directly. It has to use the object name dot member name. This is how we are going to use or how we are going to access the members of a class which is of private and protected in nature. So the function is declared with keyword friend. How we are going to declare a friend function? With a keyword called friend, but while defining friend function, it does not use either keyword friend or this scope resolution operator. For declaring, we are going to use a keyword called friend, but defining, you should not use any scope resolution operator or it should not use a keyword called friend. So these are the properties or these are the features of friend function. We'll see the next question. That is question number 43. Write the rules for constructor function. So this is very important question for your main examination also. So what is constructor function? What are the rules are we supposed to follow? As we all know that constructor is a special member function. It will going to help us in order to initialize the data members of a class. Then what are the rules are we supposed to follow? So remember, it is too easy. So constructor must have same name as of the class. What is the first rule? Whatever the function we have as a constructor, it must have same name as of the class. That is point number 1. So constructor has no return type. So constructor is also a function. So when I am writing a function at the first thing or at initial stage, I need to write its return type specifier. But constructor has no return type, not even the void. That is the second point. Constructor has no return type. Constructor has same name of a class and it has no return type. These are the 2 points. Then the constructor should be declared in the public section. It needs to be accessible throughout the program. So it must be in the public section. Class name must be same. That means constructor name must be same as the class. Then it has no return type and it must be declared under the public section. Constructors are executed automatically. So we are no need to call or no need to invoke the constructor function. When the object is created for a particular class, by default or automatically constructor will going to be executed or it will going to be invoked by its own. A class can have more than one constructor. So I can have any number of constructor in my class, but all the constructor will going to have a same name. So then that is also considered as what? Constructor overloading. And it is not possible to refer to the address of constructor. We cannot refer the address of a constructor. What is the last point? The constructor make implicit calls to the operator new and delete when memory allocation is required. So when I wanted to have the dynamic memory allocation, new will be used, and when I wanted to delete that allocated memory dynamically, then we have to use this delete keyword. So these are the rules or these are the features we are supposed to follow while writing a constructor function. Same name as of the class, no return type, should be under the public section, and we can have any number of constructor in a program and it will going to be executed automatically, should not need to be called this constructor function, and it is not possible to refer to the address of a constructor, and it will going to make an implicit call to new and delete operator. We'll see the next question, that is question number 44. What is inheritance? Explain hierarchical and hybrid inheritance. So they are only specifying, so we need to explain only hierarchical as well as the hybrid. So you can see that what is inheritance is for 1 marks and explain hierarchical and hybrid inheritance is for 2 marks. How we are going to do that? Definition of inheritance. If you are writing a definition, you can get 1 marks. And if you are explaining hierarchical, what is the definition, how the syntax will be, and how the schematic representation with example, 2 marks. Same for the hybrid inheritance. So what is inheritance then? Inheritance is the capacity of one class to inherit the properties or feature from another class. Consider I have a two class. If one class inheriting its features from another class, then that scenario is nothing but inheritance. It is a capability or capacity of one class to inherit or to acquire the features from another class will be termed as or defined as what? Inheritance. So explicitly they are asking about the hierarchical and hybrid inheritance. So then what is this hierarchical inheritance? Hierarchical, if you are getting a word called hierarchical, you have to remember it is a tree-like structure. Okay, so it will be a tree-like structure. So all these nodes represent the base class and derived class. So if a number of derived classes derived from a single base class, then we are going to call that kind of inheritance as a hierarchical inheritance. See, if a number of classes are derived from a single base class, if a number of derived classes are derived from single base class, then it will be termed as what? Hierarchical inheritance. Then it is like a top-down approach. So one base class will be there and I can have any number of derived classes. So if you consider the parent, a parent can have any number of children. All the children will going to have a same base class, but number of derived class will be more. So it will going to have the top-down approach by breaking up a complex class into simpler class. So here you can see its syntax. Here I have one base class, but it will going to have n number of derived classes. There is no we can have derived class 1, derived class 2, derived class 3. So in this scenario I am taking only 3. If I wanted to have n number of elements or n number of derived class, that is also possible. So you can consider the example of staff. Consider an example called staff. So overall become a staff. They can be related to office work, or staff can be lecturers and even non-teaching staffs and even D group peoples also comes under the staff category. So for everything it will this base class will be staff and these are all the derived classes. So this kind of inheritance will be termed as what? Hierarchical inheritance. Then what is hybrid? As the name indicates, hybrid is nothing but it is a combination of one or more kind of inheritance. So here you can see that hybrid inheritance is a combination of, usually we are going to use a combination of hierarchical as well as the multi-level inheritance. So how hierarchical works? One base class and one or more derived classes. And what about multi-level? So this is multi-level. So you can see that this is one multi-level, this is another multi-level. Okay. So this is what? Hierarchical. One base class, two or more derived classes, and this is one kind of level, this is one other kind of level. That kind of inheritance is nothing but hybrid inheritance. So you can see the class A is the base class for class B and class C. So this class B is inheriting the features from class A. This class D is inheriting the features from this class B. So in the same way, A, C and D. This is multi-level. A, C and D. Okay, multi-level. For the A class also we have a B class. So this D is also getting the features from B. This is how the hybrid inheritance will going to work. We'll see the question number 45, that is differentiate between manual and electronic data processing. As we all know that as the evolution of data processing has been take place, it has been categorized as what? Manual data processing, as well as we have a electronic data processing. That means processing of the data has been done like previously it was done or will be doing with the help of manual work. And when we are using the computers or when we are using electronic devices for a data processing, that is nothing but electronic data processing or computerized electronic data processing. So we'll see the differences between all those things. What is the first difference? The volume of the data which can be processed is limited in the desired time. So why? Because it is used with a manual data processing. So it requires more time. So if it is requiring more time, so we can't do more job within the given time. So that the volume of data which is processed is limited in the manual data processing. But that is not in the case of computerized electronic processing. Why? Because we are going to use the computer for the data processing, so that the processed data can be very large in nature. So what is the second point? Manual data processing requires large quantity of papers. Everything is manual work here, so it requires more paperwork. That is what the reason when we are doing this manual data processing, it requires more paper. But when it compares with the EDP or electronic data processing, it requires only reasonable amount of papers, or only less amount of paper is used. So next point, the speed and accuracy which the job is executed is limited, because manual we can't expect 100% of accuracy and speed when we are processing the data over manual data processing. But here the job executed is faster and will be accurate in nature. So next, labor cost is high, because if we are doing manual work, we are going to have the labors, that means human resources required. So we have to pay them. So for that reason, labor cost is high when it comes to manual data processing. But in the EDP, labor cost is economical, because if we have a one person to operate the computer system, then it will be somehow manageable and the cost will be reasonable in nature. Next, storage medium is paper. How we are going to store the processed data in the manual data processing? That too by making use of a paperwork. But in the EDP, we are going to use a storage mediums or a secondary storage medium. Why? Because large amount of data needs to be processed. So it requires large amount of memory space that will be stored in the secondary storage medium. So this is the difference between manual data processing as well as the EDP. We'll see the next question. Question number 46. Mention any 5 advantages of DBMS. So you need to be very conscious while reading the question. What is this? Mention. Are they asking us to write definitions, or are they asking us to only mention or to define, or need to brief out? So you have to be very conscious while reading the question. They are simply asking mention. So that means that no need to explain any of the point. You just need to mention what are the advantages of DBMS. Here we have listed out some of the DBMS advantages. Out of this you can write any 5 advantages. What is the first advantage? Centralized data management. Then redundancy can be minimized and control. So when we are working with the DBMS, it won't allow, or it will not going to store redundant values. That means it will not going to have a same data in more than one time. That means redundancy will going to be minimized and that will be controlled. Then data integrity, that enforces the data integrity, data sharing it will going to allow. So same data can be shared by any number of people and for any kind of application. And database security, unknown peoples or unauthorized people cannot access the data which is stored in the database. Only you are a authorized person. If you are belong to that accessibility, then only that will going to help us, or that will going to allow us to have the accessibility to the data which is resides in the database. So there will be a security for the database. And ease of application development, then multiple user interface will be there, backup and recovery. So that comes under the security concern itself. So out of this, if you mentioned any 5, then there will be a chance of getting 5 on 5. We'll see the next question. Question number 47. Explain any 5 arithmetic operator used in the SQL. So here structured query language, it is also having several operators. Out of that operator, they are simply specifying arithmetic operators. So operators that specify what kind of operation we are performing with the data. So that is what the reason we are having arithmetic operator here, that is used to perform the arithmetic operation. So that includes addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and another one is modulus. You should not say it as a percentage. It is modulus. Okay. I will tell you the difference between division and modulus in the coming one. So what is the first symbol we have? That is plus. Plus is nothing but addition. It will going to add the values on either side of the operator. So here I have an example. You consider the value of A as 10 and the value of B as 20. Consider value of A as 10 and value of B as 20. So when we are having this addition, it will going to add the values on either side of the operator. So then what is A plus B? That will going to gives us 30. Then we have a subtraction, that is it subtracts right hand operand from the left hand operator. So here A minus B, then 10 minus 20, it will going to gives us 10. So next we have a multiplication. It will multiplies the values on either side of the operator. So 10 into 20, it will going to give us 200. Then you need to be very conscious regarding the difference between slash and this modulus symbol. So this will going to return the quotient, but this returns the remainder. I will tell you, for example, you consider I wanted to divide 20 by 10. So let me consider I wanted to divide 20 by 10. Okay. So 10 twos are 20. What I am going to get? Remainder as a 0. If I am using 20 by 10, then it will gives me or returns the quotient value. In the same way, if I am having 20 modulus 10, instead of returning this quotient value, it returns the remainder value, then it will be 0. That is the difference between the slash and modulus. So here also you can see that this division will going to divide the left hand operator by right hand operator. So for this, it will going to gives us 2. That is what I told here, 2. And we have a modulus that divides the left hand operator by right hand operator, but it will returns the remainder. For that, what it will going to return 0 as the answer. Out of this, you need to explain all the 5 operator, that is arithmetic operator, that will be used in the SQL. So, question number 48. So, mention DML commands in SQL. Explain any 2 commands. So, here for mentioning of a DML commands, 1 mark, and you have to explain any 2. So, 2 into 2 will be 4 marks. What are DML commands? So, DML is data manipulation language. So, what it consists of? So, you just remember DML command as SUDI, S-U-D-I. Select, update, delete and insert. So, you remember in that way. So, DML commands, so what it consists of? We have a select, we have a insert, we have a update and we have a delete. Okay. So, if it is D, don't consider this as a drop. It is delete. So, select, update, delete and insert. So, if you are mentioning this one, you are going to get 1 mark. But if you are explaining either select, insert, update and delete any of these 2, then for that you are going to get 2 into 2, 4 marks. So, if you are explaining select, 2 mark. If you are explaining insert, 2 marks. So, here what is the reason of having this select? It will going to retrieve certain records from one or more table. When I wanted to retrieve one or more records or one or more row from a particular table, then we are going to use this select. Then insert creates a record. If I wanted to insert a value or if I wanted to create a record of a table or a row of a table, then insert command will be used. And update, that will modify the existing data, and delete will delete the record. And we have a drop. There is a difference between delete and drop. So, delete is used to delete the record, but that drop is used to completely remove that table from a database itself. That is the difference between delete and drop. So, here in the DML command, we are going to use delete. So, here first I have taken the insert. This is used in order to create a record. When we are inserting this, you need to specify its syntax as well as one example. You need to consider or you need to conceptualize one table. So, consider a table called, you can take any table name. So, how the syntax will be insert into. and you have to specify table name and values. What are the values you wanted to insert? So the values which you are inserting must satisfy the condition of column. For example, if I am creating a table called student which is having register number, comma name, then the value must be what? First I need to give the value for register number. Next I have to give the value for register number. So in that way you have to give. So this is the syntax, and here I have mentioned the example. Same way we are going to apply for update command. So when I wanted to change the data or when I wanted to modify the existing content in the table, then we are going to use this update. How the syntax of this update look like? Update table name. I need to specify the table name. In which table I wanted to make a changes. Then set. So we have to use a keyword called set. Column name is equal to value. For example, consider I have a student table. I have a register number and age. Okay. So 1, 12. So age was 12. Now I wanted to update that age as 14. How we are going to do that? Update student set age is equal to 14, where this register number is equal to 1. So I have to use a where clause in order to specify the condition, because when we are having more number of records in a table, then there will be a confusion for that. So I have to have some condition which is satisfying that uniquely, then that row will going to be updated or affected by this update command. So update, set and where. So update table name and what I wanted to update and where I wanted to update. So this is how we are going to explain the answer for this given question. This is the example. Update student table set combination is equal to CEBA, where register number is equal to 1411. This is how we are going to use insert as well as the update command. We'll see the question number 49 and last question of your second PUC's model question paper. So what is the question? Explain any 5 network devices. What are the network devices we have? We have a modem, Ethernet cord, hub, switch, repeater, and we have a bridge, we have a router. Out of this, you can explain any 5 that is of your choice. So when they are asking it for 5 marks, and each topic or each devices will going to carry 1 mark. So that if you are explaining any of the content or if you are explaining any of these terminologies, then you are going to get 1 marks each for each network device. So what is the first one we have? That is modem. What is this modem is all about? It is modulator and demodulator, or modulation or demodulation. When I wanted to connect the peripheral devices to the computer system, then we are going to use this modem. So modem is a computer peripheral that allows you to connect and communicate with other computers via telephone lines. So when you wanted to have a communication between one computer to another computer, then we are going to use this modem. And this modem will going to have a 2 types. One is internal modem and another one is external models. For 1 marks, this much values or this much of writing is not so important. So you just need to mention its definition along with the types is enough for this question. So next we have a switch. So you need to write what is switch and you have to specify what is repeater and what is bridge and what is router. If you wrote the definition of all these things, then it will be help you to get, or it will be help you to fetch 1 marks each. So write the definition and what is the use of having the switch and what is repeater, what is the use of having this. So if you consider a switch here, the switch, it is a telecommunication device grouped as one of the computer network component. Then what about this repeater? So repeater is a network device that amplifies and restore the signal for long distance transmission. This repeater will going to strengthen this amplifiers and it will going to restore the signals which is taking it for, from a long distance transmission. So in order to strengthen that, we are going to have this repeaters, and we have a bridges. So this bridges is a network device that establishes an intelligent connection between two local networks with the same standard but with different types of cables. So when I wanted to have a communications, or when I wanted to have a combination or a connection between the two local network, then we have to use this bridge. So that bridge will going to help us in order to have a bonding or a communication or a connection between two local networks. And we have a router is also works like a bridge, okay, but it will going to handle the different protocols. Here it will going to handle only same kind of protocols, but this router will going to handle different kinds of protocols that is used to separate different segments in a network to improve the performance, and it will help us to have a reliability. We can have a trust over the router because it will going to have different kinds of protocol, but it will going to hold a bond or a connection between the different kinds of protocols. So this is how you have to write the answer for this question. I hope you all enjoyed this session and it is so informative. So if you studied these many questions along with the important topics from each of the chapter, then there will be a chances of getting 70 on 70. So don't neglect each questions, or don't neglect even a single question. Try to score more and try to get out in the second PUC's computer science. So read well and all the best for your examination. Let me meet you in the further sessions. Until then, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you.